Last year, I platinumed Angry Birds Star Wars, and in that video, I said, this video gets a lot of support, I'll go for the Angry Birds Trilogy, which I'll probably regret. And that video definitely did well, so I guess in this video, I'm doing. According to PlayStation Trophies, this game is rated a 9 out of 10 in difficulty and can take over 200 hours to platinum. This would end up being 8 months of one of the most painful and mind-numbing grinds I would ever do, so it's time to go down the rabbit hole of Angry Birds Trilogy's Platinum Trophy. If you're somehow unaware of how this game works, your goal is to fling the Angry Birds into the structure on the opposite side to pop all of the pigs. It's a very simple goal, but it gets harder and harder to reach the goal as you make it through the game. As the title of the game suggests, this is a trilogy of games, including the first game, Seasons, and Rio, adding up to a total of 652 levels, plus an extra 19 bonus levels. But our journey starts with the classic. Angry Birds Classic consists of 6 episodes, which add up to a total of 285 levels, and we start with poached eggs. Each episode starts with an animated cutscene of the pig stealing the bird's eggs, which is different from the mobile version, which just uses still images as cutscenes. In this first level, we're introduced to the first bird, Red, who has no special abilities, and with this being the first level, it was pretty easy to beat and earn my first trophies. Ah, that sound. Squeak. That's just for popping a pig. I only got 1 star? Let's fix that, shall we? Hyper efficient, that's for completing it with only 1 bird. So, I repeated the level a few times to get a higher score to earn the 3rd star, and I was eventually able to pull it off. There we go, 3 stars, nice. You are a star. I'll eventually have to 3-star every single level for the trophy You Are Elvis. I didn't go for the 3 stars in this playthrough though, because I just wanted to use this playthrough to try to have fun with the game before going through the pain of 3 stars, since if this game was anything like Star Wars, the 3 stars would suck, especially since there are 671 levels. Despite this, I got 3 stars on the next few levels, and I later decided to unlock the Mighty Eagle. This is done by failing a level 3 times in a row, so I sent the birds backward, which earned me a trophy after doing this 10 times, and after the 3rd fail, I unlocked the Eagle. Whenever you use him, it replaces all the birds with a can of sardines, and when you fling it, the Mighty Eagle touches down wherever it lands, killing every single pig. This also replaces the points with a destruction meter, and if you destroy enough objects, you can get that to 100%, and I'll have to do that on every level for another trophy, but in the meantime, I got 100% destruction on 5 levels for this trophy. After getting 1 more trophy, I finally decided to play the game, eventually unlocking my first new bird, the Blues. This bird can split into 3 separate birds and is also very strong against glass, ice, whatever you want to call these blocks. However, they're pretty useless against everything else. A few levels after that, I was introduced to another new bird, Chuck. His ability gives him a speed boost, which also increases his destructive power, and he's strongest against wood. Besides that, I continued to easily 3-star the levels, which led me to 1-21, the final level of the first theme of poached eggs. This one introduces the helmet pig, which is one of 3 other types of pigs I'll encounter, and his gimmick is that his helmet protects him. But after I completed that, I watched another cutscene where the pigs move the eggs to another spot, leading to the second theme of poached eggs. During this new theme, I managed to find something. What just happened? I found a golden egg. Where? Where'd I find that? It was inside the duck, but golden eggs are found throughout some of the levels, and when you find one, it unlocks a special level, and of course, I'll need to complete every single one for a trophy. But I made my way through this theme, still enjoying my time at the game, and getting easy trophies along the way, which led to my next and favorite bird, Bomb. As you can probably guess from his name, he explodes either when you press X or about a second after he hits something, and he can be very destructive, which is similar to the next bird, Matilda. When you use her ability, she drops an explosive egg, which makes her fly off. However, if she hits something before dropping the egg, she won't be able to use it. This was the last bird I'd be introduced to for some time. After getting through some more levels and killing my 1000th pig, I made it to the final level of Theme 2, which introduced the Mustache Pig. His gimmick is simply being more tanky than the other pigs, but after I finished this level, I watched another cutscene leading to the final theme of poached eggs. This is where the game starts getting tough as I started to skip levels I spent too much time on, but little did I know, I would spend over an hour on levels later on. I also destroyed my 5,000th block, which is just a little progress towards the trophy Block Annihilator, which is for destroying 100,000 blocks. The final level introduces the last type of pig, King Pig. He has the most health of all the pigs, but with enough damage, he can be taken down, and once I beat this final level, I earn a trophy. Completed poached eggs. Simple trophy name. With our first episode complete, we now move on to Mighty Hoax. Mighty Hoax doesn't introduce anything new or interesting, but the cutscene shows the eggs getting stolen again, and spoilers, this happens every time. You would think the birds would have some sort of security guarding the eggs, but I guess not. The game is slowly starting to get tough at this point, as I skip multiple levels, most notably 5-3, so I was already getting a taste of how annoying this process would be. I also destroyed my 5,000th wood block, and I get trophies for the other two materials later on, but eventually, I finished this episode as well. Completed Mighty Hoax. The next episode, Danger Above, introduces our second to last bird of this game, Hal. Similar to Chuck, he's strongest against wood, but his ability allows him to switch directions and go backwards. Hal is very versatile, allowing for crazy arcs and other strategies. He takes a bit of skill, which is probably why I didn't like him much. Hey, I never said I was good at the game. But besides that, I just continued through, getting mad at some levels, and earning more trophies on the way, most notably Pointastic, which is for getting 10 million total points. I'll check back on my total at the end of the video. But after a few hours, I managed to complete Danger Above and move on to the big setup, where this happened. Oh right, I forgot they got captured! Terrence! Let's go. So this episode starts with me only being able to use our final bird, Terrence. Similar to his brother Red, he doesn't have any powers, but due to his size, he can do a lot of damage. By the way, you won't be seeing another new bird until we get to Rio. Going back to this episode though, this first theme has us rescuing Hal at one point, and the rest of the episode has us teaching the pigs a lesson for kidnapping the birds. I really like that about this episode, it feels unique. This episode was also low-key the easiest so far, as I managed to get through the whole thing in just a 2-hour session, and I also managed to unlock my 5th golden egg level. So after finishing up the last level, I got yet another trophy. With the big setup done, I only had 2 episodes left, those being Ham 'em High and Mine and Dine. There isn't much I want to mention about these, just that these are the hardest levels of Classic besides the bonus levels, but little did I know, 2 of these levels will be the bane of my existence later on. I only got 1 trophy during these, which was for earning 500 stars, a far cry from the 2013 I'll need to get. Besides that, I will say I like the themes of these 2 episodes, however in Ham's case, I do wish the background changed in the later themes like its predecessors. But after finishing these final 2 episodes, I moved on to the next game. I know this isn't the correct order to play the games, but I don't care. This is Angry Birds' first ever licensed game, which will spawn a few other licensed games, and this one is a collaboration with the movie Rio. I remember loving this movie when I was a kid, but as an adult now, I don't have the greatest memory of it, but it was still nice to play through this. There are 180 levels divided across 6 episodes that take you through multiple scenes of the movie, including some boss fights as well. However, with this port being old, it doesn't include the Rio 2 levels added in 2014, similar to how Star Wars excluded its last few episodes. Rio also introduces 3 new birds, starting with Blue and Jewel together. At the end of the first episode, Smuggler's Den, we rescue these 2, and their ability forces them into a straight shot, since if you can recall from the movie, Jewel is the one who can fly, while Blue cannot. The next bird is Blue by himself. Introduced in Carnival Upheaval, his ability makes him tweak out. This ability is good though, as he throws blocks all over the place, making for some better openings. Our final bird, introduced in the final episode, is Bubbles. His actual first appearance is in Seasons Episode 8, Halloween. However, if you don't own the DLC, like me, since it's completely delisted, Smuggler's Plane is his first appearance. But anyway, his ability makes him inflate, which is honestly one of my favorite abilities, but it's a shame I didn't get to use him much since he's only in this episode. Other differences in this game include the replacement of the pigs with captured birds and marmosets. If you've watched the movie, you'll know why these guys are the new pigs. Besides that, I'm not going to go into the levels as it's the same thing as Classic, and I'd rather wait for the grindy parts to actually speak on them. So here are all of the completion trophies, and I got 3 other trophies during this. The first one for destroying everything in a level, the second one for having 5 birds in play at once, and the last one is for collecting 10 Rio fruits, which I'll speak more about later on. But with Rio out of the way, it's time for the final game. Seasons is the second game in the franchise, including 187 levels all themed around different seasons. Whether that's actual seasons like summer or holiday seasons like Halloween, Valentine's Day, or even Chinese festivals, this game covers all of that and has some of the more creative themes. However, despite the creativity, at this point, I was starting to not enjoy the game. I had been playing for a few weeks now, and I was getting tired of the gameplay loop. Remember, these are mobile games, so this gameplay is more built for passing the time while you're at a doctor's appointment or taking a dump, not grinding hours a day for a PNG on screen. Not to mention, I also just couldn't stand Season's greetings because of the snow levels. I'll save my thoughts on these for later, but I just couldn't stand the level design or stomach the gameplay, so I took a break for a few months and came back while only playing on stream. This way, I was able to drop a lot of videos for you guys while still making progress. But when I came back, I slowly got back into the groove of the game, made it through Season's greetings and everything else, and I started to enjoy the game a little more, and after 2 weekends, I managed to finish up the final episode. I think this is the final level? Yeah, it is. Alright, that's all the levels done. Completed Mooncake Festival, and we should get one more. Worldwide Angry Bird, there we go. Now, you might have noticed something. I never mentioned the bonus levels, and that's because I didn't do them, yet I still got the trophy for completing every episode. With me earning that trophy without beating the bonus levels, I was under the assumption that I wouldn't need to beat them at all. We'll see if that assumption was correct. But in the meantime, I still had a few things to clean up before the grind, starting with the trophy Blockpocalypse, which is for destroying 50 objects with the first bird. To do this, I loaded into the 4th bonus level of Seasons and just hit the same spot over and over until I was able to pull it off. It was Blockpocalypse. Let's go. Following that, I went and collected all of the golden eggs and Rio fruits. As mentioned earlier, all of these are found throughout the levels, and I just needed to get a bird to hit them, excluding the one you find in the credits. This is pretty simple, however I only got the trophy for collecting all of the Rio fruit, as 6 eggs in Classic and 7 in Seasons require you to 3-star each episode, so we'll come back for those at the end. Along with that, Rio's golden eggs are different, as once you collect the first one in 6-13, the other ones are unlocked as you complete each level instead of collecting them. Because of this, I got a trophy after completing my 10th golden egg level. But after I completed all of those and collected everything I could, it was time to dive into what would make me hate this platinum trophy. Getting 100% Mighty Eagle destruction on every level and 3-starring every level. Yes, I had to go back through all 600 plus levels to get full completion on all of them. This is why the platinum is rated a 9 out of 10 and takes 200 hours, and why it took me 5 extra months to get this done. I started with the Mighty Eagle, which in hindsight was a terrible idea, but let's get into it. So I started with poached eggs, and with this in mind, you would think the levels would start off really easy, right?
No.
Alright, let me explain. With the Mighty Eagle being dependent on where you land the sardines, this makes getting 100% destruction very complicated. Even on the earliest levels that you would easily be able to 3-star, the Eagle doesn't care about that. You have to make sure your angle is good enough for him to hit every block. You also need the birds to help with this as well, because most of the time the blocks aren't in a good enough spot for the Eagle, so you need the birds to drop them into better locations. On top of this game has everyone's favorite system, RNG. And the perfect level to show for this is 1-18. On this attempt you're seeing, I got 99% with 2 blocks left. I was mad, but it is understandable. But on this attempt, I got 97% with the same amount of blocks, the only difference is that they weren't damaged. But that's not where it ends. I'm just gonna let these next clips speak for themselves. If this isn't 100%, I don't know what is. Dude, this game is genuinely so awful, bro. Genuinely awful. How do you miss that, bro? How do you miss that, man? That makes no sense! That was literally what happened with the 99%! Oh! What's that? Do y'all see why I hate this platinum? Do y'all see? Do y'all see? Safe to say, I was not going to enjoy this grind. This crap would continue throughout the whole grind, but I sucked it up and continued, and still got stuck on some levels like 2-6, which I sat on for almost 20 minutes, and the next day, I got stuck in a level for 30 minutes. This level is one of the earliest examples of how different the Eagle strategy can be from the 3-star strategy. To get 100%, I needed to destroy the pillars around the level, as they give a lot of points towards the meter. This is a stark contrast from when I 3-starred the level, as they weren't required at all for that, and it was really easy too. I also needed to send the sardines into this crevice to get the correct angle. However, I didn't figure this out on my own. There happened to be a person named Arbus in the chat who told me all of this stuff, and they helped me out during the entirety of the game. But even though I got past that, I got stuck on the very next level. I don't even know the strat for this. I just kept trying while I spoke with my chat. But this was the cycle. Get past a few levels, then get stuck for over 20 minutes. And the whole time, I was just thinking about how much I had left in terms of both Mighty Eagle and the 3 stars later. What had I gotten myself into? Eventually, I made it to Mighty Host, which wasn't too bad overall. Sure, I got stuck a little bit, most notably on 5-1 due to how spread apart the level is, but I was also getting help from the chat and sometimes looking up guides, but nothing too bad compared to poached eggs. However, Danger Above didn't start as easily. Here is 6-4. This level looks pretty simple, but getting the angle I needed was pretty annoying. Granted, I wasn't trying as hard as I should have been, but early on, I got two 99% in a row and a 98% right after those, and I didn't beat this crap until almost 40 minutes later. After this, the levels weren't nearly as bad, which led to 7-1, where I finally got another trophy. Block Annihilator, we got the 100,000 blocks, let's go. We're not getting a trophy for hours now. We won't be getting another trophy for so long. I continued through the episode and eventually used a strategy called bird flinging, which Arbus mentioned earlier. This occurs when the Mighty Eagle lands on a bird, turning them into a missile, and they can do tons of extra damage. However, I got stuck one last time on 8-13. This level looks simple, but I was constantly missing the required angles, and I eventually looked up another guide to figure it out. Still took some time, but I wouldn't have figured it out otherwise. But after finishing the last level, I moved on to the big setup, which, just like the first playthrough, was the easiest episode so far. I only spent about an hour and a half, which felt pretty good. The only levels that gave me trouble were 10-1 and 10-13, which took 9 and 10 minutes respectively, so not even close to some of the earlier levels. But the highs wouldn't last long, because next up was Hammam High. Remember how I said 2 levels from this and Mine and Dine would be the bane of my existence? Welcome to 12-3. This level's problems are solely based on the angles. You have the top part to deal with and that bottom area too. About 10 minutes in, I had already thrown in the towel and looked up a guide, but that didn't help either. Now, if you don't know much about these games, searching for a guide doesn't guarantee success even if you follow it exactly, and that's because of the RNG. RNG is also why some of you who have done these levels may have struggled with levels I didn't struggle with, but easily did levels like this. However, RNG is not the culprit for why this level was a struggle. So the guide I found is from the mobile version of the game, and you can see that the Mighty Eagle has a sharp angle when he hits this location. In my version, that angle isn't as sharp. To further prove this, there's a comment on the video saying the same thing. So yes, I'm saying Angry Birds Trilogy might have some differences in mechanics, making this guide worthless. I was totally lost on how to beat the level, so for the first time during this grind, I had to skip the level because I didn't want to be stuck on this for the entire stream. After skipping that, some levels took over 10 minutes like 12-4, 12-14, and 14-3, but I was getting through a lot more levels. However, by 5 o'clock, it was time to end the stream, but the game had other plans. 14-7 seemed like it'd be pretty easy, however, look how many times I got close to or over 95%. This was pissing me off, but this was the last straw. Okay, yeah, I don't want to play this anymore. I'm done. And I wouldn't touch the game for over a month as I got stuck recording and editing the Sonic Racing Platinums. When I came back, I had a lot more confidence, but it still took 22 minutes to complete this level. But within the next 20 minutes, I finished the rest of the 14s, which only left 12-3. I was stuck here for the next 3 hours of the stream. I found another guide for the level, but I couldn't get it to work. No matter what I tried, the highest I could get was 98%. I was at this for way too long, so I eventually ended the stream, angrily. And the next day, we got started on Mine and Dine. Since this is the last episode, it gave me the most trouble. I don't want to go over everything since we have 2 games after this, but I have a few dishonorable mentions before I get to the real bad levels. 16-1, which took me 37 minutes, 16-13, which took me 27 minutes, and 17-15, which took me 20 minutes. 2 levels absolutely sucked, the first being 16-14. I could easily take down most of the level with the birds, but when it came down to the eagle, he would always leave some random blocks around, stopping me from reaching 100%. Along with this, sometimes these wood structures, which are apparently invincible, would get in the way of the sardines, making me either waste a bird or an attempt. I had to take a break from this level once, but in the end, it took me 1 hour and 13 minutes to get this done. Finally! Bro, this game's trash. But the second level was a level I end up hating as much as 12-3, 17-13. This is yet another example of the eagle strategy being weird. You would think I'd only need to worry about the main structure, right? Especially since that's all you need to worry about for the 3-star strategy. But no, you need to destroy these rocks, which only the eagle can do. The angle required to destroy the rocks, the crystals, and the main structure feels nearly impossible to get, and in a little over an hour spanning 4 different runs, I didn't get it. The highest I ever got was 99%. I refused to let the game hold me back from making progress though, so the next weekend, I let both 17-13 and 12-3 have an hour of my time, and after not beating them, I just moved on to Seasons. Seasons is special because instead of its first episode being relatively easy, it bounces all over the place in difficulty. Many of the levels were pretty easy, but then you have 2-8 and 3-1, which took 50 minutes and 1 hour and 22 minutes respectively. Also, Arbus came back to help during 3-1, which helped out a lot. However, once again, the game had to screw me over because next up was Seasons Greetings. If you couldn't tell already, I hate this episode. The reason for this is its special mechanic, the snow. The snow may be soft, but it also doesn't move, allowing it to float. This mechanic messes up the mighty eagle since he relies on the block's physics to get the destruction. Remove that, and he's useless most of the time. Arbus was helping throughout these, but even with that, it still took me 1 hour just to finish 8 levels. But because he was there, I thought it'd be a good idea to return to 12-3 and 17-13. We started with 12-3, and it took a while, but I realized I needed to focus on these rocks at the front of the level. As long as they didn't fall off the cliff, I could send the eagle there, and if I could get a good bird fling to destroy the rest, that would hopefully be 100%. And after 30 more minutes of this garbage, this happened. Yes! Stupid level, bro! Finally! Garbage level, bro. Never playing that again. Never. With that garbage done, all that was left was 17-13. With a bunch of trial and error and input from people in the chat, we deduced that I needed to send Hal into the back of the structure, send the Chucks in to prepare for a bird fling, and the eagle needed to touch down in between the boulders and crystals. Although we knew the strat, it all came down to trial and error and whether the game wanted me to win. Would the blocks fall correctly? Would the sardines land in the right place? It took 20 minutes of trying, but eventually... Let's go! Okay, that's all of Classic done, finally. Classic was officially done, leaving only Seasons and Rio. However, keep in mind that this is only 1 trophy. I still needed to 3-star every level, and I was already over 80 hours in. But anyway, the next day I returned to Seasons Greetings. I still hated the experience, but I was making decent progress, until I reached 4-20. This level looks simple, but once again, the snow makes it annoying. It was causing the blocks to float, and it got in the way of the birds. I also struggled to get the eagle angle right, and even if I got it, I'd only get 98 or 99%. I wasted 35 minutes on this level before I tried the next one, which was even worse. Snow everywhere, and the level is too spread apart to get proper angles. No matter what I tried, sending the birds to the front, sending them to the back, nothing worked out. After 23 minutes, I gave up on that as well, and to add insult to injury, I finished the last 4 levels in 27 minutes. After finishing those, I returned to 4-20, and to my surprise... Oh, there we go. That didn't take long. I don't know what changed, but that did not take long. That only took me a minute. I guess I just needed a break. I can't say the same for 4-21 though. This level was awful, and I wasn't making any meaningful progress, so I ended my time that day with an unfinished episode. However, the next time I tried to stream, something happened outside of the game. My PS3 broke. Long story short, it randomly had an overheating issue. It took me a few days to get everything I needed to clean it, and when I did, I accidentally broke the disk drive. Just saying, I don't have any experience with cleaning consoles. Thankfully, my homie Johnmarco let me borrow his PS3. He's the GOAT, and hopefully nothing else would happen. So weeks later, I gave 4-21 another hour of my time, which was a waste, and then moved on to Hogs and Kisses. It felt good to be on a new episode, especially one that didn't include snow, but it still started poorly. 5-3, 26 minutes. 5-4, 40 minutes, and I didn't even beat it. However, I came back later after watching a guide and beat it in 20 minutes. Outside of these, this episode wasn't actually that bad. Although this trend of the beginning of the episode being annoying continued into Go Green, Get Lucky. The first level. It's another one of those levels where the structure is spread apart, creating awkward angles for the eagle. I tried for 33 minutes, but I accidentally skipped to the next level and just decided to roll with it. The rest of the episode wasn't horrible, the longest level being 6-14, which took me 26 minutes, but going back to 6-1, I don't get why this had to be so annoying. But the strat ended up being to clear out as much of the front as I could, then send the sardines to the back structure and hope things would work out, and after 45 minutes, things did work out. That's 100. Finally, dude. What a bad level. Moving on to Easter eggs, this was the easiest episode so far. Within an hour, I finished 17 out of the 18 levels. I was finally getting my big break. Then 7-18 came around. The problem with this one is that it's floating. Because of this, the sardines will slide on the ground, messing up the angle, and sending them into the actual structure didn't work either. Then there are the clouds. Like the snow, the clouds don't break easily and will stop the birds and the eagle from destroying the blocks they're holding up. I failed this level for almost an hour across 2 sessions before I gave up and just moved on to Summer Picnic. Something about this episode is that Arbus had warned me about a level here, 8-18. Apparently, this was one of the worst levels in the game, and coming from him, that means a lot. Let's see how it went for me. I got it on my first try. Let's go. I thought this level was hard. Man. That took me 2 hours on mobile. I'm sorry, bro. As I said earlier, RNG is crazy in this game. I should have struggled with this, but I'm glad I didn't. But this was actually one of the easiest episodes. Most levels took about 8 minutes or less to complete, except for 8-4, which took 15 minutes, and the hardest level, 8-24, took 35 minutes, but 35 minutes sounds like nothing compared to what I've been through thus far. But now, it was time to move on to the final episode, Mooncake Festival. Since this is the final episode, you would think it'd be the hardest one, like how Mine and Dine was, and you'd be wrong. Out of the 33 levels here, the longest was 10-6, which took me 28 minutes. I find it so weird that seasons gets easier as you go on, instead of harder like Classic. But I won't complain, because I have to save the complaints for 7-18 and 4-21. I started with 7-18. When I first hopped on the level, the slingshot straight up didn't work, so that was nice. But after a restart, I fixed it and got to work. This took lots of trial and error, especially with how I would constantly miss the TNT, but after 17 minutes, this happened. Finally, dude. What a bad level. All I had left now was 4-21. I found a new strategy from the guide, but despite that, I expected this to take ages. I mean, there's a reason why it took so long to finally beat this, but to my surprise, this happened. Oh! Let's go! That was fast. We're done with seasons. At least for Mighty Eagle, we're done. This only worked because one of the blues was flung through the level. Bird flinging is so goated. And that now just leaves us with Rio. Rio may have the least levels of the trilogy, but does that make it the easiest? Well, its first episode definitely makes it seem that way. It only took me about 35 minutes to finish the whole thing, so let's move on to Jungle Escape, where the trend continued. It wasn't hard. It took me an hour to get through the whole thing, but that's because the levels took longer on average. The longest any level took was 7 minutes, and even the Nigel boss at the end was really easy, only taking about 4 minutes. This definitely felt good though. The game felt enjoyable for the first time since the first playthrough. But surely beach volley would be the turning point, right?
No.
Besides this episode being way too bright, it also only took me an hour to get through. However, there were 2 levels that took me 20 minutes to complete, those being 5-5 and 6-13. 5-5 was because of how much I needed to destroy, and I struggled to get the angle right, and 6-13 was due to everything being spread out. Besides those, most levels only took 2 to 4 minutes to complete, so in a single stream, I managed to finish 3 full episodes plus the remainder of seasons, which was unheard of prior to this. The next day, we started on Carnival Upheaval, a really nice looking episode might I add, and just like the previous episodes, this wasn't too bad either. As I said earlier, the levels just took a little longer on average, which I will take over spending hours on one level any day. But unfortunately, the trend died a little bit on Airfield Chase. The first 3 levels were easy, but the 4th finally gave me trouble. With the way the level was built, I thought the angle would be very easy to get, but I was mistaken, or maybe I didn't actually know the right angle, I'm not sure. But either way, I hate to blame it on this, but the issue was RNG. There were so many attempts where I should have gotten 100%, but I got 95 to 99% instead. Or I would accidentally send the sardines into the ditch in the middle, which was just incorrect. But after 43 minutes, the game finally stopped trolling me. Let's go! Finally, bro. And after that, the game went back to normal. I finished the rest of the episode in a little over an hour, with the longest level being 9-8 due to the odd design and me not hitting enough of the blocks, but it only took 13 minutes. Which leads us to the final episode of Rio, Smuggler's Plane. Up until this point, Rio had been the easiest for the Mighty Eagle, so does this episode change that? Not at all. I guess these levels were better built for the Mighty Eagle, or I was improving a lot. I honestly can't tell. The longest level here was 11-6, which took me 16 minutes, but I also did something very stupid on 12-12. Star Wars? I mean, that was ages ago. What? Wait, I reset on 100? Oh my gosh, stupid game. Why'd it have to be so slow, dog? The level took me another 10 minutes after that. The final level was a boss fight, so all I needed to do was beat this, and I would finally be done with this grind. Moment of truth. Moment of truth, y'all. Moment of truth. I don't know. I don't know. I think you might need the bonus levels. Wow. What a... I hate you too, Angry Birds Trilogy. So, remember how I got the trophy for completing every episode without doing the bonus levels? Well, the completion trophies do not follow the same rule, and I wasn't aware of that. So the next day, I was determined to get these done. There are 19 bonus levels split across the 3 games, which is the same number as the number of episodes, and these are the hardest levels in the game. They have the craziest designs, so I expected these to take the whole stream, and they did, but it was way worse than I thought. But within the first 16 minutes, I completed 3 of Classic's bonus levels, but I assumed this was a fluke. There is no way these would be that easy. And then I got to level 4. This level was terrible. I spent the next hour and 15 minutes trying to beat this. I had to look up a guide for it, but that didn't even help. After wasting my time for that long, I decided to do the other levels first. But here's what's crazy. I finished every single one from all 3 games in just under an hour. One incomplete level took me longer than all 18 other levels combined. However, as I went through them, they were lagging a lot and the game crashed 3 times. This was very concerning considering this is a mobile game on a console. You're telling me a PS3 is struggling to run this? Well, once the game finally started working, I returned to Classic Level 4. This was the longest I spent on any level in the entirety of the Platinum. Not only did I have to destroy the main structure and the floating structure, but I also had to destroy all of this bouncy pink stuff. If I didn't, I wouldn't get close to 100%. I had to try to destroy the far parts of the structure, the floating one, then hope the eagle would destroy all of the pink and even more of the structure. This required insane amounts of RNG, especially since I got the angle by sending the sardines backward. This sounds weird, but for some reason, he drops around the correct spot if I do this, and I wasn't going to argue with what multiple guides showed me. To really put the time into perspective, I streamed for 5 hours that day. Halfway through, I finished the final bonus level. So I was here for almost 3 hours! And that's not even the worst part. Remember how the bonus levels were lagging? Well, this happened. More videos for y'all. What are you doing, game? Are you serious? Are you serious? What are you doing? Oh my gosh, dude, this game, bro. This is just pissing me off at this point, man. This is so annoying. The worst part about this is that the game wouldn't even show up on the XMB and has nothing to do with the disc, as I tried multiple other games and they didn't work either. When I finally got it to run again, there was a sound that would play when it's bugging out, and that had me nervous. No, don't do that, game. Don't do that. Don't do that. That noise that it just made, that stuff is kind of causing the crashes. This whole situation had me fuming, and I just had to end the stream after a while. And to add insult to injury, after this, I could not get the game to show up anymore. Johnmarco and I tried to fix it one day, but I'd rather not talk about that. Just know that I couldn't play for multiple weeks, and even if I could, this level would screw me over again anyway, so I was just stumped. But on April 4th, I managed to fix my PS3. This renewed my confidence a bit, but the level was still terrible. I had other things to work on though, so I didn't waste my time with that garbage. But weeks later, I gave it another shot. This time, I was using a common strategy for the level. With this, I was hitting the pink a lot more consistently, so all I needed was the perfect run. Throughout this session, I kept telling myself that I could do it. No matter how hard the game tried to screw me over, I refused to let it win. I wanted to be free of this. I didn't want to give up. And eventually, it finally happened. Let's go! Let's go! I knew I could do it! I knew it! I knew it! Give me my trophy! Mighty Eagle! I knew I could do it! I was not pushing this off for another day. I knew it! Let's go, dude! Genuinely one of the worst trophies I've ever gotten, and I've gotten some pretty bad trophies in my time. But unfortunately, it's still not over, because now I had to 3-star every level. When will it end, man? Oh well, back to poached eggs. Thankfully, since I had already 3-starred almost every level in the first theme, that cut off an entire third of the episode. But let me explain how 3-starring even works. Each star is tied to a score requirement, so to get all 3, you have to reach the highest requirement for the level. The main strategy to do this is to kill all of the pigs and destroy as much of the structure as you can with the least amount of birds. This is because each excess bird rewards 10,000 points. You don't always need to save birds, but most of the time, you do. You also probably noticed I didn't speak on the birds much during the eagle. That's because they really don't matter, it's the eagle that's important. Now that he's out of the picture, they'll be a lot more important. With all that said, let's get into the levels. Like the eagle, not every level gave me a hard time, it's just that since I wasn't going for 3 stars before, I wasn't doing the strategies right, so a lot of levels just took me like 3 to 5 minutes. But there were a few that gave me trouble, these being 2-9, 2-21, 3-15, and 3-19, all ranging from 19 minutes to 27 minutes. But there was one that really put me through it, that being 3-1. This took well over an hour to beat. The score I needed was 63,000, and I only got 3 reds. The strategy was to send this first red into this top TNT from above, which would hopefully cause a chain reaction of all the pigs dying, allowing me to win with only 1 bird. But most of the time, red would end up on the wrong side, and the rocks would not fall where I needed them to, and this boulder down here never had enough momentum to roll into all the pigs. This level was mad annoying, but I kept refining this strat every time, and I was eventually able to pull it off. Oh! I got it. I got it. This level sucks. This level can die, bro. Piece of trash. Oh, and when I beat the final level, I got a golden egg, since you unlock one after every episode you 3-star, and a trophy. There we go, you are a superstar! Moving on to Mighty Hoax, this took about 3 hours, a little less time than Poached Eggs, but it still had some hurdles, namely 5-2 and 5-21, taking 27 minutes and 37 minutes respectively, but by far the worst was 4-20. Nice. The score for this was 107,000, and what I needed to do was send Bomb in between these blocks to open up the far left pig, send Chuck into him or Matilda, and the second bomb needed to kill the other 2 pigs. That is not how anything worked out. Either I'd miss with the first bomb, or the blocks would fall in the wrong places and screw everything up. I hate RNG so much. But of course, I pushed through it and finished in 48 minutes, so overall not too bad of an episode. Danger Above, however, steps it up a notch. Before I talk about it, I will say that the 3 stars felt more balanced compared to the Eagle. I expected these to be difficult, and the game even encouraged you to get 3 stars by of course shoving them into your face after every level, but the fact that you even unlock golden eggs after 3-starring episodes is dope, considering you get literally nothing for the Mighty Eagle. But anyway, dishonorable mentions go to 6-4, 6-14, and 8-10, taking 23 minutes, 18 minutes, and 27 minutes respectively, but the hardest one was easily 8-9. It took me 3 separate runs to get this done. This level seems simple, you can beat it with just 2 bombs, but the score requirement is 140,000. Because of this high requirement, I had to figure out how to maximize my destruction with the bombs. This took tons of trial and error, and even this horrible fail. Dude, that would have been it. That would have been it. But after an hour and 14 minutes, I pulled it off. I don't know what I did to get 139k. Genuinely, I don't know what I did differently. Oh. Let's go! We did it! We did it! Never mind. We got it. We got it, bro. For once, the big setup was actually difficult. Remember how during the Eagle, the longest level was 10 minutes? 24 minutes, 32 minutes, 34 minutes, 47 minutes, and the longest, over an hour. What a turn of events. Let's talk about 11-9. The score for this is 96,000, and you get 3 Terrances for this. All I needed to do was destroy most of this first structure, then send a Terrance or 2 into the back. I probably restarted after the first Terrance like 100 times because I could not destroy the stone or the food. Either he wouldn't knock the stone down at all, or he'd knock it down too early, missing the food and giving me fewer points. And on top of that, sometimes the food would protect the pig there. I love it. This level sucks, let's move on to Ham High. Thankfully, I had already 3-starred 12-3, so I didn't have to relive that pain again, but besides that, Ham took a while, but it's because I had so many levels to 3-star. By this point in the original playthrough, I was already starting to get bored. I mean, Classic does have the most levels, so I just wanted to get through them ASAP. With that said, that doesn't mean there weren't some bad levels, and those levels were 12-7 and 12-8. Both levels took 36 minutes, but I hated 12-7 a little more. It was a simple problem. The first red needed to kill all the pigs at the top and destroy the TNT on the side, while the Matilda just needed to kill the bottom pig. Well, I kept making red hit bad areas, or if I did actually do some damage, it wasn't enough to get the 65,000 points I needed. But overall, Ham wasn't as bad as it could have been, but Mine and Dine was so much worse. My stream title that day was Can We 3-star the final Classic episode today? But look at that last bit of the title. That tells you everything you need to know. But actually looking into it, it's similar to Ham, how there were just too many levels to do. During that stream, we got through the first 2 themes, some of the longest levels being 15-13, 16-1, and 16-3, all taking above 20 minutes, and the longest was 16-15, which took 32 minutes. As for the second stream, we got through the last theme pretty easily, except for 17-7. The score for this is 123,000, and I needed Hal to destroy the right structure while one Chuck destroyed the left, hopefully getting at least 103,000 without the bonus birds. Remember, I suck at using Hal, so a lot of attempts ended like this, and if I didn't miss, the structure wouldn't get destroyed, so I might as well have missed. This took 57 minutes, easily landing within the top 3 longest levels of Classic. We got it. We got it. We got it. We're finally out of this purgatory. Thank you, man. Thank you. But speaking of Classic, that's all for it. That's the last time I'll ever have to play anything like 12-3, 17-13, or anything from these 3 stars. So, let's move on to seasons. It started poorly. Trick or Treat is genuinely one of my least favorite episodes. I don't know if it's by design since it's like an expansion of the first game, but its difficulty is too unbalanced in my opinion. Levels can take as little as 20 seconds to complete, to multiple taking 20 to 30 minutes for the first episode. Granted, Post-X is similar, but I never said I liked that episode. Anyway, let's talk about the level that really pushed me over the edge, 2-14. The score for this is 100,000, and the strat was to send Matilda into this little crevice, then send a Chuck into this spot, and the last Chuck needed to take out the last pigs. Well, the biggest problem was that I'd press X for Matilda, and she wouldn't use her ability. If I had a controller cam, I'd prove it, but I could press it 3 times and she wouldn't work. I'm assuming it has something to do with her being too close to the blocks, but you'll hear more about it later on. Besides that, I would just miss my shots a lot. It'd be really nice if you could see the trajectory of the slingshot like you can in Star Wars. But yeah, this level made me the angriest out of all the 3 stars. Oh my. But in the end, it took 41 minutes to get this done. But you already know what episode is next. No matter what playthrough it is, Season's Greetings always screws me over. The 2 longest levels here were 4-6 and 4-16. The score for 4-6 was 48,000, and the problem was simply bad aim. With red and the blues, I kept missing the blocks, which stopped me from continuing the strat. But after 37 minutes, I finally got good and was able to beat it. As for 4-16, the score for this is 100,000, and the Matilda thing was happening here too. It took very specific shots with Matilda and Terrence to get a good attempt, but most of the time, the blocks would protect the pigs, causing me to waste the last 2 birds on them, removing the possibility of 100k. This went on for 23 minutes until I took a break and did everything else, and I didn't come back until much later, and I beat it in a total of well over an hour. I think I got it. I think I finally got it. Oh my gosh, dude, finally. It is 12:46 a.m. I started this level on stream, took a 4-hour break after stream, got on for like another 20-30 minutes, and I've been at it for like another hour right now, dude. I'm never playing this stupid episode again. I can't stand Season's Greetings. If you enjoyed this episode, props to you, I don't. I do want to give an honorable mention to 4-17. This was right after failing 4-16, so I was already feeling defeated. This level wasn't helping at all, and you can tell I was so tired of this. But at one point, I decided to check the score requirement, and this game has mushed my brain so much, dude. I've already done a 3-star for this, I'm wasting my time. This game, like, seriously, it pisses me off so much. I just wanted to get off of that last level so bad that I went onto this, dude. Didn't even need to waste my time with that. I mean, hey, at least my mood was lightened a bit for the rest of the episode. Moving on to Hogs and Kisses, this is when Seasons got weird. So I got stuck for 38 minutes on the second level. The score is 105,000, and the problem was that I needed Chuck and Bomb to deal with the structure, then have Terrence deal with the Cupid pig, but look how much trash is in the structure. Attempt after attempt, stuff would constantly protect the pigs. But of course, I eventually got through it, but the struggle isn't the weird part. What's weird is that the rest of the episode was really easy. The 2 longest levels only took 10 minutes each, which is not what I expected, seeing how Season started. The trend continued into the next episode, which ended up being the easiest episode in the game. The longest level only took 7 minutes, so I'm not gonna waste your time with this one. Let's move on to Easter eggs. This episode definitely had a rocky start. The first level took me 26 minutes, and the third level was the longest, taking me 40 minutes. The score was 108,000, and it was pretty tough to get that score, since the blocks just wouldn't get destroyed. But after I finished that, the levels got pretty easy, the longest of these being 7-10, which took 15 minutes. Then I moved on to Summer Picnic, and it was also very easy at first. I had to go through 20 levels, and the longest time during this was 6 minutes, so I thought I had another very easy episode on my hands. And then I reached 8-29. The score for this is 144,000, and I just needed to use every bird to destroy as much as possible. You already know where this is going. Of course, I just couldn't destroy enough, Matilda was screwing with me, this level just sucked. It took me 14 minutes in the end, but things got worse because the final level took me 32 minutes. The score for this was 96,000, and look who they gave me. At least I can genuinely blame my skill since, as I said multiple times, I'm not good with how. But there was still some RNG. With the first howl, I needed to knock down everything except King Pig, and the second howl would deal with him. But the game didn't want that to happen, so yeah, 32 minutes. Which leads to the final episode of Seasons, Mooncake Festival. This one was another mixed bag, most levels just taking a few minutes, but 9-12 took me 24 minutes, 10-1 took me 23 minutes, and 10-17 easily could have been a bad level. Just look at this atrocious camera angle, but it thankfully only took me 6 minutes. And then there's the final level. The score was 122,000, and I'm convinced they just wanted to keep me on the game because of moments like this. Like, bruh, that would have been the dub right there, but he just has to survive. But after 12 minutes, I was finally free of Seasons, and since I 3-starred the last episode, I unlocked my final golden egg level. Egg collector, let's go. It's been a few weeks since I got a trophy. It always feels nice to get one. We are so close to the end. But we aren't quite there yet because now it's down to Rio. Starting with Smuggler's Den, this is how I'd imagine the first episode would go. Lots of the levels were easy, but there were some hurdles such as 1-13, 2-5, 2-11, and fittingly its last level 2-15, but they aren't so hard that they turn you into an Angry Bird. Maybe I'm in the minority on this, but I feel that Poached Eggs and Trick or Treat are not good first episodes because of how much their difficulty jumps. But enough of my opinion, let's move on to Jungle Escape. This was gearing up to be another easy episode. The longest level was 3-9, which took 9 minutes to get through, but remember that this episode is the first to introduce a boss fight, and it was not easy. The score I needed was 70,000, and the way the bosses work is you need to defeat them with as few birds as possible. This required me to hit the TNT around the area to hit them with the rocks, and I needed good aim to hit them with the birds. I don't have good aim, so this was really tough for me, and he constantly moves around, screwing me up even more. My strategy in the end was to start off by sending Blue and Jewel to cut the top TNT right before Nigel moves there for a free hit, and they would hit the TNT in the back, causing a chain reaction of all the TNT. After that, I just waited for Nigel to be close to the ground and then shoot, and after 22 minutes, I finally pulled it off. Got him, there we go, that's 3 stars, 100,000%. I never want to play that again. I mean, I'm gonna have to fight Nigel again later, but still. I don't have to do this level again. Beach Volley started off rough, with the first level taking 21 minutes for a variety of reasons. 1. Each structure was spread apart, limiting chain reactions. 2. I struggled to get Blue and Jewel to blow the left structure up. And 3. I struggled to get Chuck to destroy the middle and right structures for Matilda to give me the bonus points. After I beat this, the levels were pretty manageable until I reached 6-1, which took the longest out of all the Rio levels so far. The score was 80,000, and the main issue was the helicopter. I needed to drop it onto the right structure and kill all the marmosets on that side and kill the left marmosets while leaving the blues. The heli would not destroy the structure, and sometimes marmosets would survive since they can balance and land on their feet, unlike the pigs. But after 31 minutes, I got the one run where the heli destroyed the structure, allowing me to pull it off, and the rest of the episode was really easy. Which brings us to Carnival Upheaval. The levels here took about 4 to 7 minutes on average, so longer than the others, but the longest levels were 7-10 and 8-15. 7-10's requirement was 103,000, and I was just constantly missing shots and not destroying enough when I did land my shots. But in the end, it took 17 minutes, and I got a pretty high score as well. 8-15 was another boss fight, and the score was 50,000. There's not much to really say. I just struggled, and a lot of birds were wasted because of these balloons, which really annoyed me. Obviously, you're supposed to dodge them, but they would come out of nowhere when I flung the birds, so that's my excuse. Anyway, it took 27 minutes to get this done. But Airfield Chase surprised me. So that night, I got through the first half of the episode, which only took 12 minutes, so I decided to finish the rest on stream the next day, and I got hit with apparently the hardest level of Rio, 10-3. The score for this is 125,000, which was kind of an absurd score, and they only give you 3 birds to do it, and I couldn't even use the 3rd bird for the strat. Only being able to use the 2 bombs made this very tough, as I would leave birds constantly, and even if I freed all of them, I wasn't even close to the required score. The game also trolled me many times, allowing me to get close, but not give me the win. I was at this for 54 minutes until I decided to just move on. No other level got close to this, the closest being 10-13, which took 19 minutes. So after I finished the last level, I came back to 10-3, and even more surprisingly, this happened. We did it. Wow. Okay, that was fast. We already did it. Okay, I just needed a reset. I just needed some time off this level. Sometimes, viewer, all it really takes is a break. if you're ever struggling with something in a game, it's okay to take a break. You might just need a better mindset. Speaking of mindsets, mine was good because we were on the final episode, Smuggler's Plane. This journey through the 3 stars was wild. Lots of highs, lots of lows, but overall, I take it over to Mighty Eagle. But talking about the episode, it followed the trend of the other levels, being a pretty mixed bag overall. The longest levels were 11-15 and 12-14. The score for 11-15 was 79,000, and the main problem was with the blues. The guide wanted me to split them almost immediately, destroying most of the structure. Well, this made their trajectory more unpredictable, and I couldn't replicate it. So I switched to a different guide who sent the blues in like this. This was still tough, but I felt more consistent this way, and I beat it in 20 minutes. By the way, I was switching between these 2 channels throughout all of the 3 stars, I just couldn't find a good moment to mention them. Anyway, 12-14's requirement was 75,000, and Much's guide required me to destroy the top of this structure with bubbles, and destroy the bottom one with the blues. I was not good with this strat. After I struggled for a while, Arbus sent me his own strategies, but I couldn't get these to work either. But then I watched Trevis's guide, which had me send bubbles into the bottom structure and every other bird into the main structure. It still took me some time, but this turned out to be way easier than all of the strats, and in the end, it took me 36 minutes to get this done. Finally, there was the Nigel boss fight, which only took me 4 attempts. Did I do it? I did it. I did it. That's Rio done. That is Rio done. All that was left now was the bonus levels. It was late in the stream, but I wanted to see if I could try to get them all done before I ended. The first level took me 27 minutes, so that gave me my answer. This time, the bonus levels were actually tough because of their score requirements, which are over 200,000. Also, side note, no website accurately tells you the scores. The closest is the wiki, but they weren't accurate enough. Anyway, the scores are so high because of the amount of objects, but that's also why they were so easy with the eagle since he's dependent on destruction. I won't go over every level, but the hardest was, of course, classic level 4. It may not have taken me hours like the eagle, but it still took me 54 minutes, so almost an hour. But after 5 hours of grinding these levels, I finally put this 3-star grind to rest. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. Yes, dude. Oh my gosh. Yes, dude. You are Elvis, man. Oh my gosh. It's freaking... It's 1:25, man. I did not want to play this tomorrow. I did not want to play this on stream tomorrow, dude. The relief, man. I can't... I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I'm just so happy. With this final grind done, all that was left was to complete every golden egg level. There are 62 in total, but I only needed 47 since I already did Rios, and these are the most unique levels and most fun. It definitely felt good to enjoy the game after all the pain I endured. Before we end this journey, I just want to give some final thoughts about the whole thing. Even though this game put me through so much pain, I still respect the franchise and the game as a whole, even if I've grown out of it. Grinding the game the way I did ruined the whole experience, making me hate it a lot of the time, so don't do what I did. Pace yourself. The support on Star Wars and throughout these 8 months has been amazing, and it helped a lot to keep me going, especially with the PS3 fiasco. I don't recommend wasting your time on this platinum, but if you're going to do it, I've left many resources in the description, such as score requirements, video guides, and the trophy guide. But with all that said, here is the end. Oh, we're done! We're done, yo! We're done! We're freaking done! Oh my gosh, we're done! Give me this trophy! Eggmaster and Angriest Birdiest! Let's go! Let's go, man! Oh my gosh, man! We're finally done, dude. Here are my final stats for the game. I don't know how much time it actually took, but we'll just go with the 200 hours. As for the future, don't expect any more Angry Birds games. The only video I can guarantee is the DLC trophies for this game, if I can get my hands on the DLC, but even if I get it, that won't be for a while. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. If you're unaware, my name is Shardix, not Shardy or ShardyX. The X is not silent. I'm gonna start saying this as I know a lot of y'all don't know the correct pronunciation, and if you ever want to see these platinums live, I stream here on YouTube every Friday through Sunday at 1 PM Pacific time, unless I'm editing a video, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out. That was so unsafe. But screw Angry Birds Trilogy. We did it.